Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support me. The horizon floated in the vast emptiness of space, a lone beacon in the darkness as it approached the coordinates where the void city was rumored to exist. Dr. Evelyn Carter stood at the observation window, her gaze fixed on the infinite void before her. This was it, the culmination of years of research and speculation. Her father had dedicated his life to the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, and now, she was on the brink of a discovery that could change everything. Behind her, the hum of the ship's systems was a comforting reminder of the advanced technology that kept them alive in this unforgiving environment. But as the city's outlines began to materialize in the distance, the comfort gave way to a deep-seated unease. The city was immense, a sprawling mass of alien architecture that defied human understanding. Ancient, yet somehow alive with the hum of dormant energy approaching target coordinates, came the voice of Captain Marcus Reed over the intercom. His voice was steady, but Evelyn could sense the tension beneath. He was a seasoned leader, hardened by years of military service, yet even he seemed to recognize the gravity of what lay ahead. "Prepare for landing," Evelyn replied, tearing her gaze from the window and heading toward the command center. The rest of the team was already assembled, their faces a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. Lucas Trent, the young archaeologist, was practically vibrating with excitement. "This is it," he whispered to himself, eyes wide as he studied the holographic display of the city. "The find of a lifetime." "Keep it together, Trent," Captain Reed said gruffly. "We don't know what's down there." "Whatever it is," Dr. Amara Singh added, "we're about to find out." The horizon touched down on the city's surface with a gentle thud, its landing gears sinking slightly into the ancient, dust-covered ground. The city loomed around them, its towering structures casting long shadows that seemed to stretch infinitely in the dim light of distant stars. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional crackle of the team's comms. Evelyn took a deep breath as she stepped off the ship, her boots crunching softly on the alien soil. The air was thin, almost suffocating, and the cold seeped through her suit despite the thermal regulators. The city felt abandoned, yet there was an undeniable sense of being watched, as if the very walls were aware of their presence. "Stay close," Captain Reed ordered, his voice cutting through the tension. "We don't know what's out here." The team moved as one, navigating the labyrinthine streets with caution. The city was a marvel of engineering, its buildings made of an unknown material that shimmered in the faint light. Strange symbols adorned the walls, glowing softly as they passed, as if reacting to their presence. Lucas couldn't contain his curiosity. He ran his hand along the surface of one of the structures, marveling at the smooth, cool texture. "This is incredible," he murmured. "It's like the city is alive." "Focus, Trent," Reed barked. "We're not here to admire the scenery." But even Reed couldn't deny the eerie beauty of the place. The city was a puzzle, each turn revealing new wonders and new dangers. As they delved deeper, the sense of foreboding grew. The symbols became more complex, more ominous, and the air grew colder, thicker with an intangible presence. Finally, they reached the heart of the city, a massive central chamber that dwarfed everything they had seen so far. At its center stood the core, a pulsating orb of energy that seemed to radiate power. The team approached it with a mixture of awe and trepidation, the weight of its significance pressing down on them. "This is it," Evelyn whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the core. "The source of the city's power." Lucas was the first to step forward, his eyes wide with wonder. "It's beautiful," he breathed, reaching out as if to touch it. "Don't," Reed snapped, grabbing Lucas's arm and pulling him back. "We don't know what it could do." Dr. Singh was already at work, scanning the core with her devices, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's unlike anything I've ever seen," she said, her voice tinged with awe. "It's alive, in a way. It's generating its own energy, like a living organism." Evelyn's mind raced as she studied the core. The implications of such a discovery were staggering. This was no ordinary power source, it was a weapon, a tool, something that could reshape the very fabric of reality. but as she stepped closer, she felt a strange pull, a whispering at the edge of her consciousness. The core was calling to her, tempting her with its power, its promise of knowledge beyond anything she could imagine. She could see it in the others too, Reed's jaw clenched in concentration, Lucas's eyes glazed over with desire, and even Singh's usually calm demeanor showing signs of strain. The city was testing them, probing their minds, exploiting their deepest fears and desires. Evelyn could feel it, the pull of the unknown, the lure of absolute power. But she also sensed the danger, the trap that lay hidden beneath the surface. "We need to get out of here," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "This place, it's dangerous." But before they could act, the ground beneath them rumbled, and the walls of the chamber began to shift. The city was alive, and it wasn't going to let them leave so easily. A low hum filled the air as the core began to glow brighter, its energy pulsing in time with the vibrations of the city. The team barely had time to react before the floor beneath them gave way, sending them plummeting into darkness. Evelyn's world spun as she tumbled through the void, her suit's thrusters struggling to stabilize her descent. She hit the ground hard, the impact jarring her senses, but she forced herself to stay conscious. Around her, the others were in various states of disarray, their suits flashing warnings as they struggled to regain their footing. "Is everyone okay?" Reed's voice crackled over the comms, strained but steady. "Just bruised," Lucas groaned, pushing himself to his feet. "What the hell just happened?" "The city," Singh said, her voice tight with controlled panic. "It's reacting to us. We triggered something." Evelyn struggled to make sense of their surroundings. They were in another chamber, this one even more massive than the last. The walls were covered in symbols, but these were different, darker, more malevolent. The air was thick with tension, the sense of being watched more oppressive than ever. "We need to find a way out," Reed said, his tone leaving no room for argument. "Now." But as they started to move, the walls began to close in, the symbols glowing ominously as the city's defenses activated. Evelyn's heart pounded in her chest as she realized the truth. They were trapped, caught in a maze designed to test and destroy them. The next few hours were a blur of frantic movement and desperate attempts to outmaneuver the city's traps. The team was pushed to their limits, both physically and mentally, as the city toyed with them, exploiting their fears and weaknesses. Lucas nearly succumbed to a hallucination, convinced that the walls were closing in on him, while Singh was almost lost to a maze of illusions that preyed on her deepest insecurities. But through it all, Reed remained a steady anchor, guiding them with a firm hand and an unshakable resolve. He refused to let them give in to the city's manipulations, pushing them forward even when all seemed lost. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached another chamber, a dead end. But this one was different. It was empty, save for a single pedestal in the center, upon which rested a small, intricately carved box. Evelyn approached it cautiously, her heart racing. This had to be it, the key to the city's power. But as she reached out to touch it, she hesitated. The city had been testing them all along, and this could be just another trap. "Be careful," Reed warned, his voice low. Evelyn nodded, her hand hovering over the box. She could feel the energy emanating from it, a low hum that vibrated through her entire being. But she also sensed something else, a presence, ancient and malevolent, watching her every move. She took a deep breath and lifted the box. The moment her fingers closed around it, the chamber shook violently, the walls beginning to close in once more. But instead of panic, Evelyn felt a strange calm wash over her. This was the final test. "Move!" Reed shouted, and the team sprinted for the exit, the walls closing in behind them. They barely made it out, the chamber ceiling shut with a deafening crash. Back in the central chamber, the core's glow had dimmed, its energy seemingly depleted. But as they approached it, the box in Evelyn's hands began to pulse with the same rhythm as the core. "It's connected," Singh said, her voice filled with awe. "The box is the key to controlling the core." Evelyn's mind raced as she considered their options. They had come here to secure the power of the Void City for humanity, to use it to protect Earth from the threats that loomed in the dark corners of the galaxy. But now, standing at the brink, she realized the cost of such power. Before she could make a decision, a low rumble echoed through the chamber, and the team turned to see a ship descending from above. It was sleek, alien in design, and unmistakably hostile. The Virex had arrived. The ship landed with a soft hiss, and a group of tall, slender figures emerged, their features obscured by dark helmets. The leader, taller than the rest, stepped forward, its voice a cold, emotionless whisper, "The core is ours. Surrender it, and you may leave with your lives." Reed stepped forward, his weapon raised. "We don't want any trouble," he said evenly. "But we're not giving up the core." The Virex leader tilted its head slightly, as if considering the offer. "You have no idea what you're dealing with," it said. "The core is not a tool for your kind. It will destroy you." "We'll take our chances," Evelyn said, her voice stronger than she felt. "The core belongs to no one. It's a force of nature, and it's not meant to be controlled." The Virex leader made a sound that could have been a laugh, though it held no humor. "Foolish humans. You've sealed your fate." Without warning, the Virex opened fire, and the chamber erupted into chaos. Evelyn ducked behind a pillar as energy bolts sizzled past her, narrowly missing her head. Reed and his team returned fire, but the Virex were fast, their movements almost too quick to track. Evelyn clutched the box to her chest, her mind racing. The core was the key, but how could she use it without destroying them all? She could feel the energy building, a storm of power just waiting to be unleashed. Suddenly, everything became clear. The city, the core, the box, they were all part of a single system, a weapon designed to protect itself. But it wasn't meant to be wielded by just anyone. The city had been testing them all along, looking for someone who could make the ultimate sacrifice. Evelyn took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Reed," she shouted over the din of battle. "Get them out of here. I'll handle the core." "What? Are you crazy?" Reed shouted back, dodging a blast, "Just trust me." Evelyn shouted, her voice filled with a calm resolve. "I can do this." Reed hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "You heard her. Fall back." The team began to retreat, covering Evelyn as she made her way to the core. The Virex, sensing her intention, redoubled their efforts, but Reed and the others held the line, giving her the precious seconds she needed. Evelyn reached the core and placed the box on top of it. Instantly, a surge of energy shot through her, nearly overwhelming her senses. But she held on, focusing on the rhythm, the pulse of the core. She could feel it, the power, the danger, the responsibility. "Come on," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Work with me." The core responded, its energy flowing through the box, through her, and out into the city. The walls shimmered, the air crackled with electricity, and the Virex faltered, their weapons flickering and dying, but the power was too much. Evelyn could feel it burning through her, consuming her. She was the conduit, the bridge between the core and the city, and it was tearing her apart. With a final, desperate cry, she released the energy, sending it out in a wave that rippled through the city, shaking its foundations. The Virex were thrown back, their ship shattered by the force of the blast. The city's defenses, once dormant, came to life, driving the remaining Virex out and sealing the city from within. Evelyn collapsed, her body spent, the core dimming as the energy subsided. She could feel the city settling, its power contained once more, but she knew it was only temporary. The city had tested her, and she had passed. But the cost had been high. Reed was at her side in an instant, his face pale with worry. "Evelyn. Talk to me." She managed a weak smile, her vision blurring. "It's done," she whispered. "The core, it's safe. Don't you dare die on me," Reed growled, his voice shaking, but Evelyn could feel herself slipping away, the energy that had sustained her now draining her life force. She had done what needed to be done, but at a price she hadn't anticipated. "Take the core," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Use it wisely. Reed shook his head, his grip tightening on her hand. No, damn it. You're coming with us. But it was too late. The city's lights dimmed, the core's glow fading as Evelyn's vision went dark. She had saved them all, but the cost had been her life.